help from Whitney and the Mount Pleasant family members, we were able to locate and take pictures of areas that my great-great-grandfather, his brother, and his sons worked and worshipped over 160 years ago. To give you an idea of how long ago that was, it was before Abraham Lincoln was president. How inspiring it was to stand on this land where they once stood and see trees, rocks, and other things that were undoubtedly there then. William Roberts Barton, a great-great-grandfather to me, as well as to my newfound cousins of Mount Pleasant, was our progenitor to Henry County, Iowa. His son, William Henry Barton, was my great-grandfather, and his other son, Thomas Henry Barton, was my cousin's great-grandfather. My Mount Pleasant cousins had information, but upon my arrival became even more interested in their histories, even visiting the county building and the local library with us to help find more information. Not being Mormons, but Baptists, they do not place as much emphasis on genealogy as we do. My great-grandfather came west alone after serving in the Civil War. He hired on with a freight outfit, driving a wagon, and was headed for Oregon, but stopped in Salt Lake and happened to meet Joseph Stallings. He went to work for Stallings in his sawmill in Mill Creek Canyon, fell in love with his daughter Florence, then became a Mormon and married her. He later homesteaded a section of land in 1880 in Granger and moved his sawmill there. The home is still standing down the lane at 3800 South and can be seen from the Bangerter Highway. One of the most interesting people we met was Marie McElwee Barton, who married Jay Barton about 70 years ago and just celebrated her 97th birthday last week. Marie proved to have the memory of a 50-year-old, a sense of humor superior to most, and was as sweet and charming as could be. She, along with 3 of her children and a nephew, and their spouses, were our newfound family in Mount Pleasant, Iowa that we had never met. Marie was able to produce a treasure of a picture, one with my great-grandfather and his brothers, Benjamin and Thomas Henry, before my great-grandfather came west in about 1866. Getting back to pre-Henry County time, my great-great-grandfather William Roberts and his brother Joseph left Pennsylvania to settle in Tuscarawas County, Ohio. Some of their children were born there, but they soon left Ohio to resettle in Henry County, Iowa. William Roberts was a teacher in Ohio, and Joseph was a preacher. Upon settling in Iowa, my great-great-grandfather William bought a small farm and built a sawmill on Big Creek. Joseph also bought a small farm across the creek and established a small church called Home Bethel Church of God and a cemetery called Barton Bethel. These locations were adjacent to a shallow spot in the creek where people forded to get to town. It was called Barton's Ford. The cemetery is still there with many headstones illegible. Several Bartons were buried there. The church is long gone, but evidence of the rock foundation is still there. After all the searching we did, we were still unable to find the final resting place of my great-great-grandfather. My great-great-grandfather died in 1845 at the young age of 45, leaving his 3 boys to carry on for the family.
It's probably an old one that does it.
A lot of these are hard to read. Now we're wondering where the church was, because they had a church down here too. We're guessing that the old church was right here, right where Bill is. That's Bill Whitney, with the cemetery in the background. I hope to return again to continue the search, and I want to get on the other side of Big Creek to explore for evidence of the sawmill. One of the interesting things that became evident to me was the parallel in timing of events between the history of the Mormon Church and the travels of the Barton family. The Bartons left Pennsylvania in 1813 to settle in Ohio, staying there until 1828 when they moved through Illinois and into Iowa. During the 1830s, the Saints relocated from New York to Ohio, then to Missouri, and finally to Nauvoo in 1839, just 50 miles across the Mississippi from Mount Pleasant, Iowa. In 1844, Joseph and Hiram Smith were killed at the Carthage jail, and the Saints left Nauvoo on their trek to the Great Salt Lake area in 1846. The Mormon Trail left Nauvoo and crossed just north of Mount Pleasant, Iowa, on the way to Council Bluffs and Winter Quarters. As you know, they left behind many treasured items because they could only haul so much. The most treasured thing they left behind was their homes, and the town they loved and had hoped to establish the headquarters of the LDS Church. The town had grown to a prosperous community of about 12,000, one of the largest cities in Illinois. They had built shops and stores to make a complete community in the short years they were there. They left behind the temple that they had all worked hard to build between 1841 and 1846. After the Saints left, the temple was destroyed by fire and wind. The temple is now being restored to its original design on the same hill it was originally built. The LDS Church has restored and built many buildings and edifices to the memory of those early pioneers and their dedication to their belief in the gospel as taught by Joseph Smith. They have even restored the old Carthage jail to its original condition, and they conduct tours regularly.